Hi, everyone. Welcome to this special Women's History presentation highlighting 4 amazing women leaders in Monterey Park. My name is Deborah Niblick, and I am a senior librarian for the Monterey Park Library. And joining me is Cindy Yee, who will be leading today's presentation. Cindy is a longtime resident of Monterey Park and was born and raised in Los Angeles and then relocated to the San Fernando Valley. After meeting her husband, Stan, a Monterey Park resident, they bought their first home in Monterey Park and raised 3 children and is the proud grandmother to 4 grandchildren, and 1 is on the way. Cindy also worked at Cal State LA for 19 years and is a longtime community and school advocate since the aerial spraying of malathion here in Monterey Park. Her efforts include raising much needed funds to renovate Monterey Highlands Elementary School and actually help create the Mark Keppel Alliance, which was born in her living room in the mid-90s. Cindy's work earned her the Woman of the Month for Monterey Park by Senator Hilda Solis on her birthday on March 29, 1996. And lastly, Cindy is a huge fan of Nancy Kwan. And in fact, if you need anything and everything Nancy Kwan, she has amassed a massive collection of Nancy Kwan memorabilia that she actually donated to Margaret Herrick Motion Picture Academy Award Library in early 2019. So talk to Cindy. Thank you so much for presenting today, and hopefully y'all have your favorite cup of tea or whatever your beverage is, as this presentation is all about spilling the tea, which in a nice way means on the accomplishments of the women that Cindy's going to talk about. So if we have time, feel free to stick around after the presentation, because we can even talk about some of the amazing women in our own lives. So I will now turn the presentation over to Cindy.
Hi, Deborah. Thank you so much for that nice little bio on me. You know, this was not an easy task because these 4 women were remarkable, and they all accomplished first in something. And so I'm going to first share about Louise Davis. Louise Davis was born in Joliet, Illinois, where she graduated from St. Angela's Academy and would receive a scholarship to attend college in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. As a teen, Louise was already an inspiring leader as she was class president. After World War II, Louise met her husband, Bill, and were remarried shortly after. Bill and Louise moved to Monterey Park in 1955, where they raised 7 children. While raising her children, Louise became heavily involved with the PTA and Mother's March of Dimes, where she worked to foster better ethnic and cultural relations amongst the diversity that is Monterey Park. Next slide. Louise Davis has been referred to as the grassroots candidate, calling for broader representation and community involvement in city government. Louise Davis accused the previous city council had been run by, quote, an arrogant ruling elite, unquote, that handpicked council candidates that would hurt the community to hold on to power. Louise Davis was the first woman elected to the Monterey Park City Council in March 1976 until April 1984. Louise served as mayor for 3 terms from 1980 to 1981 and again in 1983. Louise Davis was known for the rapport that she built with constituents to ensure that every resident in Monterey Park was heard to create a better city for the people. Next slide. After serving on city council, Louise ran for city treasurer in 1988 and stayed in this role until her retirement in 2001. Her leadership was strong and her legacy was long, all the while preferring to be low-key in her endeavors. Mrs. Davis served as a chairperson on the committee in charge of the celebration of the city of Monterey Park's 75th birthday in 1991. Under her leadership, the committee came up with a motto: pride in the past, faith in the future. This phrase is written above and on the front wall of the council chambers. Many times, this phrase is quoted by residents when they come before the city council to make their points come across on any issue. Mrs. Davis was president of the Monterey Park Historical Society and played a key role on its expansion. There was a resident that built 21 replicas of the historic California missions and was seeking a permanent home to display the missions. To this day, the replicas of the missions are on display at the Historical Society for everyone to view. Next door to the Historical Society is the Garvey Ranch Parks Observatory. Louise Davis also served on the Monterey Park Boys and Girls Club board and the President's Community Advisory Board of East Los Angeles College and the American Red Cross of San Gabriel. Mrs. Davis served 12 years on the Garfield Medical Board. She was very active in the League of Women Voters organization. Lastly, Louise serves as a charter member and president of Hill Haven Healthcare Center's Community Advisory and charter member and chairperson of the Friends of the Seniors Langley Center. Mrs. Davis' dedication and passion for community service did not go unnoticed, as she was named Woman of the Year by Seroptimus International Monterey Park, the most valuable citizen award from the Monterey Park Boys and Girls Club, Award of Merit from Monterey Park Chamber of Commerce, the Community Service Award from the Monterey Park Lions Club. Mrs. Davis was always known to be fair, reasonable, kind, and a hard worker. And she was always thinking long-term for what was best for us, the residents. Today, Louise Davis is a young 97-year-old who has lived in Monterey Park for 48 years. She retired to a retirement home in Sun City, Menifee, California. Lilly Lee Chin will always go down in history as the first Chinese American woman to serve as a city council person and mayor of a major city in the United States. Next slide. Lilly was born in China and grew up in Taiwan. She immigrated to the United States in the 1960s. Lilly earned a master's degree in social work and became a public servant as a frontline medical caseworker for the County of Los Angeles. Paul and Lilly Chin raised 2 children who have graduated from prominent universities. Her daughter, Helen, is an oncologist with the City of Hope. Next slide. She started as a first-line social worker and rose to administrator for the Los Angeles County Family and Children's Services. She coordinated the 1980 White House Conference on Families and implemented the first Asian American Human Service Program in the County of Los Angeles, where she became a national prototype. Which became a national prototype. She was also in charge of services planning and resources departments, responsible for allocation and disbursements of federal funding to human services agencies. Mrs. Chin was Director of Public Affairs for the County Department of Children's Services. With the encouragement of residents and other friends, she decided to run for City Council of Monterey Park. The first time around, she lost by 28 votes. The second time, she clinched a seat on the City Council and served from April 1982 to April 1986. She worked with many community organizations and ethnic groups and helped the immigration population to participate in the mainstream of American society. During her time on the City Council, she took a leave of absence from the County of Los Angeles to devote her time to her beloved city. She encouraged hundreds of eligible residents to register to vote and assumed the role of spokesperson for the ever-growing Asian population in the San Gabriel Valley. During her tenure as mayor of Monterey Park, the city won the prestigious All-American City Award in 1984 Summer Olympics and won the American City that year. Lilly says, only by participating in politics actively can Chinese Americans integrate themselves into American mainstream society. Lilly launched a major voter registration drive and published Voter's Handbook in English and Chinese. Lilly Lee Chin was a West Coast reporter and producer of a weekly program for Voice of America. She also serves as a Metro Media television news correspondent and community advisory board member for KCET Channel 28 Public Television. The Democratic National Committee chairperson appointed Mrs. Chin as a member of the National Democratic Committee. The 40-member task force on peace and security elected her their chairperson, and at the 2000 National Democratic Convention, Lilly was named chair. Lilly Lee Chin has been honored over the years for her public service, effective administration by the LA County Board of Supervisors and California State Legislature. She was the first also to be honored by the Anti-Defamation League, ADL. While serving on the city council, there was a turbulent, long discussion that seemed to last weeks, if not months, on the subject of sign ordinances. Due to small business buildings putting up signs only in Chinese, Mrs. Chin felt she was in a dilemma trying to represent her constituency with the complex maze of relationships, tensions between the newcomers and longtime residents, and between American-born Chinese and recent arrivals from Taiwan and Hong Kong. She supported anti-gambling and sided with the residents who stormed the council chambers that overflowed out into the city's hall's interior floor space. Mrs. Chin fought successfully against the construction of a helipad at a bank planned for development. She also organized a city-funded literacy project created to teach Asian newcomers basic English. One of Mrs. Chin's greatest accomplishments was when she assisted in obtaining a $1.7 million state grant called Leroy Greens for a new auditorium, library, administrative offices, and cafeteria at Monterey Highlands Elementary School because its facilities were substandard for its time. I know firsthand about her significant role on who I needed to contact personally. I was able to contact Assemblyman Charles Calderon's office and made my complaints to a highly qualified assistant. Obtaining the funds to complete Monterey Highlands happened 36 years ago. We both participated in the groundbreaking ceremony at Monterey Highlands Elementary School, which was right down the street from both our homes. Next slide. Judy Chu was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives in July 2009. She represented the 49th, which included Pasadena and the West San Gabriel Valley of Southern California. Next slide. Next slide. Judy taught psychology at the Los Angeles Community College District for 20 years, including 13 years at East Los Angeles College. As mayor, Judy Chu worked to revive Monterey Park's sister city with Young Ho in Taiwan to promote cultural harmony. She created the city's Harmony Week, which featured an essay contest in which hundreds of residents wrote about the benefits of living in a multicultural society. As a council member, Judy Chu secured grant funding $150,000 from United Way for the San Gabriel Valley's Asian Youth Center in 1995. Longtime proponent for redevelopment efforts in Monterey Park, which had the lowest tax revenue in San Gabriel Valley, it resulted in the development of Atlantic Times Square. She upgraded city services for childcare as well. Named Woman of the Year by the Monterey Park Girls and Boys Club for her work advocating for the welfare of youth. She supported anti-gambling and sided with 750 residents who stormed the council chambers that overflowed out into the city hall's interior floor space and received petitions from 1,500 signatures in 4 days against the proposal of a casino within Monterey Park borders. She then was elected to the state assembly. While state senator, Judy Chu did not forget her young constituents back in Monterey Park. When Mark Keppel High School, who was known throughout Southern California schools as a poster child, she was able to secure state emergency funds to install badly needed air conditioning in the main building at Mark Keppel. Judy Chu then was elected to California's elected tax board, known as the State Board of Equalization, followed by the running for Congress for the 49th District. Judy Chu was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives in July of 2009, making her the first Chinese American woman elected to Congress. Due to gerrymandering of congressional districts these past few years, she has served the 32nd District and now the 27th District. In 2011, Judy was elected chair of the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, which advocates for the needs and concerns of the Asian American and Pacific Islander community across the nation. She helps lead the Tribe Caucus, a joint effort with the Congressional Black Caucus and the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. Chu founded the co-chairs of the Congressional Creative Rights Caucus, which advocates for the copyright protections of those in the creative industry, such as music, film, and visual arts. She also serves in the leadership of the House Democratic Caucus as a member of the Steering and Policy Committee. Some of Rep. Judy's accomplishments in Congress included introducing and passing a congressional resolution of regret from the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, working with President Obama to declare the San Gabriel Mountains a national monument, requiring the Department of Defense to address military hazing, helping entrepreneurs by establishing 2 new small business development centers in the San Gabriel Valley, and helping small businesses refinance old, expensive real estate loans by reviving the Small Business Administration's 504 loan refinance program. Judy Chu currently serves in the powerful House Ways and Means Committee, which has jurisdiction over legislative pertaining to taxes, revenues, Social Security, and Medicare. In that committee, Judy Chu is a member of the subcommittees on health, giving her oversight over healthcare reform and crucially safety net programs. She also serves on the House Small Business Committee, which has oversight in the Small Business Administration. Currently, Judy has been a very outspoken representative against the anti-Asian hate movement that's been flooding our media these days. Tanchu was the second Chinese American woman in all of the United States to pass the bar. She was the youngest ever to pass the bar at that time. Betty Tanchu is founder of East West Bank. Next slide. Early years, Betty Tanchu was born and raised in San Diego as an only child. Her father, Tom K. Chu, owned a farm, and her mother, Yisu King, was an immigrant from Guangdong, China. At the age of 5 years old, there was an incident that involved her father. Because of this experience and the witnessing of an immigrant farm worker on her father's farm at the age of 9, she was inspired to become a lawyer, even though her parents were against the idea. In those days, Chinese parents only wanted their daughters to marry and raise a family. After graduating from Grossmont High School, she earned a BS degree from the University of Southern California. Mrs. Chu worked her way through college and law school while working as a secretary in Chinatown. In law school, she was the only one of 2 women in her class, and she was picked on daily by her professors in an attempt to discourage her. This only compelled her to become a stronger defense lawyer, in which she did not lose too many cases during her career. Before graduation, she decided to take the bar exam as a trial run to see what she needed to do better the next time around. Remarkably, she passed the bar before graduation and graduated at the top 10% of her class. Betty was admitted to the State Bar of California in 1961, becoming the first Chinese American woman lawyer. As a pioneer in the legal field, Chu's career was supported by Hiram Kwan, founder of Kwan, Cohan, and Lum, a highly prestigious law firm in Los Angeles, Chinatown. At the University of Southern California, she met Bob Chu, and they married shortly after graduating. Bob and Betty settled in Monterey Park and raised 3 children. Both her sons have followed her in her footsteps, becoming attorneys. Next slide. Betty Chu was an immigration attorney who worked for high-powered attorneys in the 60s. Betty also served as an attorney for the Los Angeles School District. During the Watts riots crisis in the 60s, Betty and Bob drove down to Watts to help rescue some of their friends. Betty discovered that people of color were not able to obtain a home loan from a white institution. She studied for a couple of years on how to obtain a savings and loan application, lost at the state level and won at the federal level. During her free time on weekends, she would dabble in real estate projects in order to earn extra money. After coercing wealthy Chinese businessmen in Chinatown to invest in creating a financial institution, they held a groundbreaking ceremony naming their establishment East West Federal Bank in 1973. She appointed these male investors to various positions on the board because women were not recognized nor allowed to hold the position of a chairman of the board back then. Mrs. Chu sold East West Federal Bank and founded Trust Savings Bank in 1981. She became the first female chairperson and chief executive officer of a savings bank in the United States. In 1992, Chu was a member of the Los Angeles Department's Police Chief Selection Committee. Around 2001, Betty retired, but not for long. Her longtime career in advising people, whether it was personal or business, led some residents and her son, who was a volunteer police officer for our city and still is, convinced Betty to run for city council because Her expertise was needed. Serious issues needed to be addressed within the city, such as deter a potential casino, bringing nationally recognized shopping stores to our city, and the city budget and trash contracts were on a collision course and all coming to a head. 11 candidates had already started their campaigns to run for city council with 3 seats open. Betty submitted her application exactly 3 months before Election Day. I know because I was one of her advisors and was present when she submitted her application. I asked her to outline her accomplishments because she had accomplished a great deal and no one knew exactly all she achieved throughout her career. On election night in late 2002, we watched the city council election. It was like watching a racehorse. Please note, she only had 3 months before Election Day with a field of 11 other candidates in the running. She pulled out of the pack to capture the 3rd seat. Betty was on the council from March 2003 to March 2007. With unfinished business, she then ran again in late 2008 and was back on the city council from March 2009 until June 2012, where she resigned her seat before the end of her term. One of Betty's legacies was the development of our marketplace, and it has come to fruition. Her only regret was that our city was unable to obtain a cheaper and reliable contract for waste disposable services. In 2005, Betty was an honoree of the Los Angeles Chinese American Pioneers in Law from the Chinese Historical Society of Southern California. There are too many accomplishments to name over her lifetime, and I chose only a few things that stand out. Prior to retirement, she found out that our city and she volunteered on Monterey Park's Economic Development Task Force. She also served on the Recreation and Parks Commission and chairperson for the Human Relations Committee. At the state level, Betty was involved with the California Constitutional Revision and Assembly Judiciary Advisory Committee. She served on the Federal Reserve Board Consumer Advisory Council with Alan Greenspan and at the Federal Home Loan Bank Board Advisory Council. Betty was invited to become a member of the International Women's Forum trusteeship. From time to time, serving on the city council, we heard residents, including the younger generation teens, would watch her on the city's cable station because they admired her wit, charm, intelligence, ability to ask intelligent questions of staff and the city attorney, and always dressed with glamour and beauty while never looking her age. On June 5th, 2014, the California State Senate passed the Senate Joint Resolution 23 and 22, which is associated to formally apologize for the past California anti-Chinese legislation. This resolution passage is a work and request by the Apology for the Chinese Exclusion Act Committee, which Chu is one of the founding members. In 2016, Chu was the alternate delegate for the Republican National Committee. When Betty and Bob's home became too unsafe for the both of them, they somewhat downsized into countless storage pods before finding a suitable home in Villa Park. Betty lost her beloved husband, Bob, several years ago. Betty and Bob, along with their family members for years, have been supporters of USC football organization. To this day, Betty has been involved at the state and federal level, volunteering her time with causes and issues, just like a true Trojan. I would like to thank Lorraine Martinez and Deborah Niblick for all their help in putting this project together.
Again, thank you so much, Cindy Yee, for your time and the amount of work that came into this presentation. I'm so thankful for that. And this presentation will be made available on YouTube. I got to edit out some parts, but we'll have it available by next week. So thank you again, everyone, and have a great weekend and stay safe. Don't forget to check our website at montereypark.ca.gov for more programs like this. Take care.